Well, hey there, oldies. Welcome to That Old Soul Show, or as I like to call it, TOSS for short. I'm your host, Sarah, here to take you on a nostalgic joyride where timeless tunes meet visionary views. Each week, we're diving deep into the sounds that move us, the videos that lit up our screens, and the artful films that made us feel something. This is the show for the old souls with fresh takes, celebrating everything from timeless classics to groundbreaking visuals and cinematic masterpieces that push boundaries. So, grab your headphones, turn up the volume, and let's vibe through the rhythms, reels, and stories that make life unforgettable. Welcome to That Old Soul Show. Welcome again, and thank you so much for being here on my very first episode of That Old Soul Show. It means a lot to me that you're here and that you decided to tune in. So before we get into our major topic of the day, which is duets we didn't know we needed, let me first tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about the show and the goals that I have for us. So first things first, why That Old Soul Show? Why did I name it that? Who am I? Well, hi. As mentioned earlier, my name is Sarah, and I would consider myself an old soul. Not just because I've been called that my entire life, but because it's a feeling. It's something that I've always gravitated towards. I've always gravitated towards older music, old TV shows, old movies. I think part of the reason was because I was raised by a baby boomer and a Gen Xer. And I've just always been into things that were made before my time, if I could say it like that. When it comes to my music taste, I am all over the place. I remember growing up and riding in the truck with my dad, and he would have country music on. And of course, when I got older, I was like, all right, I'm turning away from country music a little bit. That's because it feels like it's cool to not like country music, but that's another topic for another day. I was raised on country music, right? And I found pop. And when I was in the car with my mom, if it wasn't the sermon from last Sunday, it was silence. So I didn't really get a whole lot of musical taste from my mom, but that didn't stop me from going out and finding music on my own. I would always watch biopics and discover a new artist. And that's how I found artists like Ray and Etta James and Ella Fitzgerald even, and Johnny Cash, of course. Walk the Line is a great movie. I would consider myself a concert junkie as well. I've gone to a ton of concerts and festivals, and we will definitely get into that on this show because I attend a lot of concerts, and it's my way of experiencing life and experiencing music and the way that the artist intended it to be. Now, as far as movies, on the movie side, I've always been fascinated with the avant-garde, Oscar-worthy, and international films. I've always found myself wanting to know how movies got started and like the history of films and cinema studies in general. But of course, I am this person who will always go back to my comfort level, right? I can watch Coming to America or even 50 First Dates on repeat. I know all the lines. I'm that person. I'm that person you probably don't want to watch a movie with if I've already seen it. Now, where did this fascination take me? Well, it took me to getting a bachelor's in broadcast communication and then obtaining my master's. This sweet little Southern Texas girl, yes, I do consider Texas the South. Don't fight me in the comments. I was able to get my master's degree in dramatic writing. Now, funny story with that. I started as a film and TV major. But the funny part is I started January 2020. And at the time in Georgia, they are on the quarter system. So at the end of the quarter, it was March, and we all found out, of course, that we had to stay in the house. And so it became very challenging and very difficult to take film classes online. And I found myself writing more and more because I've always naturally been a writer. And so I just decided to finish my graduate degree in dramatic writing. And for that, of course, I had to write this long script and a big old thesis that was 150 pages, and I decided to write it on podcasting. I wrote, produced, and directed a scripted podcast and made that a part of my thesis. Doing this podcast now, it's been a long time coming. I have always had this idea for Toss in the back of my mind, and I've always known that I wanted it to be on music and music videos because I was the MTV kid watching music videos while I was getting ready for school. That brings me to my goals for this podcast. I want us to explore new music together and vibe out and constantly be a student of the craft and explore how we got to this music and the vibe that we vibe with today. And so with that being said, I won't be your typical music podcast because I'm not a typical music listener. And that's no shade to anybody. But if you hand me an aux cord, you never know what song I'm going to put on. It really could be from any genre, any time period. That's just who I am. But I know that there are people out there like me who you can't stay in one lane. You can't stay in pop. You can't stay in rock. You can't stay in country. You have to explore. You have to be this vessel of just different sounds and vibes. And so I just want this podcast to be a place, a safe place for people like you and I to talk about Taylor Swift and then talk about Ray Charles, all in the same breath. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. My only ask for this podcast is that I understand some people may not like country. Some people may not like rock and roll. And I'm totally okay with that. And I respect that. And so I want to ask you guys to extend that respectful ear to each genre. And so with that being said, even if you don't vibe, I think it's important to respect the artists and how they choose to express their art and their voice. So with that being said, let's jump into today's Old Soul segment where we are talking about duets we did not know we needed. And for the sake of today, I'm going to go in chronological order by date so that it's a little bit easier to follow along. First up, we have Dream a Little Dream of Me. This is Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. And it was back in the 1950s that this song came out. And the reason I love this song is because it's jazz, like the improvisation, the freedom. It's a comforting, warm blanket on a cold night. This song is just so smooth with the trumpets and the harmonies. It's just really, it feels like a lullaby. Okay. However, I can understand that can be a bit of a contradiction, at least for me, because for a good 2 years, this song was my alarm clock sound. Because as soon as I heard that trumpet blaring, baby, I was waking up. Okay. I'm shooting straight out of bed. But it's a great song. And the way that Ella and Louis work together and just create magic on every track that they collaborated on, it was always something special. So if you haven't heard it, I definitely recommend it. Next is our 1984 Sweet Lovin' Friends with Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton. Now, this came from a musical called Rhinestone. So if you're not into musicals, I get it. Out of all the songs that were on the soundtrack, this one was just the funnest one to me. The lyrics were simple. It was straight to the point. It was refreshing. It was just a fun, simple song. And the song itself, it's just two people talking about they just want to be friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sylvester Stallone, Dolly Parton, dynamic duo. Definitely check it out if you haven't heard it. Next, we're going to move to a more hip-hop track called Driving Me Wild. This is Common's song where it features Lily Allen. It was around 2007. Talk about smooth vibes and two people who were paired up that you wouldn't think should be paired up. With this song in particular, I really enjoyed the wisdom and the storytelling. And that's something that Common does really well in his music. Now, this song in particular has a music video. And of course, I watched it. Of course, the storytelling visual plays a bit literal on the lyrics. And you really wouldn't want it any other way because of how the lyrics were structured. Now, I'll get into my thoughts on different styles of music videos at a later point in time. But you wouldn't want anything too avant-garde or visually striking. I will say, this music video, while staying true to the storytelling, had some striking elements. First of all, it starts off with Lauren London. And she's in the beginning, she's this girl who's trying really hard to fit in and cares a little too much about what people think. She's got bags and bags, like girlfriend went on a shopping spree of just like Louis Vuitton and all these designer brands, just weighing her arms down. Later on in the visual, we see a guy who's trying too hard to fit in. And so for me, when I watch the visual and I think about the song and the lyrics, really the moral of the song is about self-acceptance and trying not so hard to fit in. And Lily Allen, in the hook, she talks about love being the only thing that you really need. And it makes sense, right? Like at the end of the day, you can have all these material possessions and listen, ain't nothing wrong with having a Coach bag, if that's what you want, but don't let it define you or define your life. And that's really the message of the song. Now, as far as the duo, Lily Allen has this gorgeous jazzy tone that pairs really well with the hip hop beat. And again, she's driving home this point that love is everything and it's really all that you need. Now, as far as the fun elements I mentioned earlier, Lily Allen is seen in an astronaut suit. Common is coming out of a Rolls Royce and it blows up. So it's got some fun elements so that it's not so literal in the storytelling. But overall, a great music video and definitely a great duet that we did not know we needed. Moving on to our fourth duet. Now, this one is a bit of a wild card in my book. It's opera. I love opera. It's on my bucket list, okay? I really want to go to an opera show. Like Phantom of the Opera would be cool. However, this opera is called If Only. It's 2018 from Andrea Bocelli featuring Dua Lipa. Now, Bocelli is known to collaborate with a lot of pop artists. I know he's collaborated with Ariana Grande. And so collaborating with Dua Lipa, this song is just, It's just a beautiful story. Dua Lipa's tone on this song is also really gorgeous. And I feel like she really showed respect to the genre because we know her as a pop star. And so for her to get on this song, it was a perfect pairing, if you ask me. And again, the music video, it didn't need much either. I really liked how they used stock footage to show the distance with these images of like galaxies and stars to convey the lyrics of like heaven and wanting someone to be next to you even though they can't. And they also superimposed Dua Lipa and Bocelli on top of each other and also used some double exposure to show this like separate yet togetherness or even a sense of longing that the lyrics talk about. And then last but not least, another duet that we did not know we needed was Two Most Wanted from Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album that she recently dropped this year, featuring Miley Cyrus. Now, I love Beyonce and I love Miley Cyrus. Their voices together just meshed so beautifully. I know some people are like, Beyonce, where's the visuals? Give us the visuals. I'm going to argue that she's been giving us visuals, okay? This song in particular came with a lyric video. And the lyric video was giving like Thelma and Louise vibes because there was like the car that was used in the film, or not, maybe not that exact car, but a car like it. And then we're also out in the desert and there's tumbling weeds and we're just out in the desert, okay? And then this lyric video rather, it slightly reminded me of the old school Disney Channel sing-along videos. Now, that's no shade, and I'm not saying that is a bad thing. Listen, Disney kid, 90s baby, all right? I just thought it was an interesting touch to a lyric video because most lyric videos that I've seen don't do that quite often. So one thing I noticed was Miley's lyrics were in white and Beyonce's were in yellow. However, when the chorus came up, those lyrics turned from white to yellow, almost like guiding you along on this journey of a loving relationship, I will hold you down, I will be your ride or die. Now that could be me reaching, but that was just the vibe and what I got from the lyric video. And that's a wrap, oldies. I hope you enjoyed today's episode on the duets we did not know we needed. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I gave you a little bit of a taste of what is to come. And join me next time as we dive into some of the visuals from what feels like a distant past, but was really a huge turning point in entertainment, and honestly, wasn't that long ago. I would love to keep the conversation going, so please follow me on social, and I can't wait to see you next time. All right, bye, oldies.